Jesus. What is that? What the is that?
The murderer of immersion and the patronizer of gamers' navigational skills, yellow paint has been the topic of discussion among the netizens. It has caused much dismay and controversies around the gaming industry, populating the idea that game designers today are lazy and that people who play games today aren't in any capacity capable of doing the most menial tasks in gaming. And while everyone delivers their 2-cent opinions on the topic, they never seem to really bother asking the reasons for its invention and the effects it has on gaming in general. To begin, we need to discuss a major concept in game design: affordances. No, we are not talking about how you can't afford eggs or how much a house costs or how is the Dow doing.
The Dow right now is over 50,000. People need to know this, need to know how is the Dow.
Thanks, Bombandi, but your input is not needed. Affordance is basically the possibilities of interaction in a virtual environment in relation to the object by the player. Basically, affordance is the term given to possible interactions that a player can achieve with a certain entity, be it object or NPC, etc., in the game world. To illustrate the concept, consider the humble container. Perfect in shape, never stops containing, and always a general delight to all gamers. This mighty container, depending on the game it is in, either acts like a piñata or serves as a perfect excuse for devs to block your way. In Resident Evil 4, you break open this Kinder Egg to reveal goodies like ammo, health, or a slender surprise.
What the hell? Same blood. Oh god! Oh! Ow! 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 Ow!
Yet in Dark Souls, those precious containers serve nothing but a reason for most players to practice dodge rolling into them and die to the next boss first try. However, in Skyrim, the container goes from mighty to the next best thing after sliced bread. You can lift it, throw it, dump it on top of an NPC and rob them blind. Oh no. You'll never take me alive! All of these examples are affordances, ways that you can interact and do, well, things. So why is this even talked about here? In all those games I mentioned, the affordance to do them were all present, but did the game explicitly tell you to do it? In Dark Souls, you find out organically by just playing the game and seeing them break, and then you try to roll onto them yourself and it just works.
It just works.
In Skyrim, that possibility is never mentioned. Furthermore, it's actually confusing, considering some containers will actually have goodies and some just don't. In fact, most newbies won't even realize that the containers have physics enabled on them until they Fusroda the hell out of it. So what separates them? How can you tell what entities provide the affordance to do anything with them? This is what the yellow paint is there for: to provide feedback and create perceived affordance. Let's explore the concept a bit further. Real affordances are possibilities provided to the gamer inside the game. It exists. Perceived affordance is the perception of the player and whether or not a player actually registers whether this entity has the affordance. If the player doesn't perceive it, then the player simply ignores the actual existing affordance as if it wasn't there. Feedback, then, is the communication by the devs to the player, informing them about an affordance with a certain entity. The existence of climbing ledges is there. Yet, if the player doesn't notice it, does it really exist then? Yellow paint then serves as direct communication from the devs to the players. So why is it even needed? When players could just bumble and stumble their way into the right area. This is where we cover something that most gamers go through but don't know about it. The cognitive load theory. If you ever wanted to mod something and went to check the download instructions, but the moment you saw the great wall of text, you said, nah, I'm good, G. This is you overloading your brain cells with too much information at once. See, your brain kinda works just like a computer. You got your RAM, the short-term storage, and your long-term storage, like your SSDs and HDD. The short-term memory of your brain is called the working memory, and your long-term memory is called long-term memory. When you glanced at the instructions and felt the immediate need to just not look at it and process it, or felt overwhelmed, that's your brain telling you that there's too much information being presented, or that it's simply too complex for your low IQ brain. The actual theory is much more in detail and in depth, but we won't cover it here. However, what we will cover is what is needed in order to explain why yellow paints help with it. Games back then didn't have so much going on as to cause any type of cognitive load. They were much more simpler than modern gaming today. Let's take an example. Take a look at the PoE2 skill tree to realize what I'm talking about. And this is just the skill tree, let alone any other mechanics the game has to offer. Every mechanic in a game takes some cognitive load in your brain as you play them. In Resident Evil 4 OG, you had to explore for treasure, shoot enemies, conserve ammo, deal with inventory management, and navigate your surroundings. In the remake, things changed a bit. Not only do you have all those set things, but enemies are faster, and your knife has a durability, and you got a fancy parry button that goes with your knife. You also have stealth mechanics with distractions and takedowns. The only thing that gets taken out of cognitive load from the OG is the navigation due to the infamous yellow paint. Rather than exploring everything around you and not realizing what is interactable or not, the yellow paint simply removes that load from your gaming session and enables you to continue without being overloaded or overwhelmed. Another good example of this is the God of War series. The original trilogy is known for its high testosterone action, is subtly known for its deeper layer of storytelling. Yet, the gameplay was straightforward and direct. It didn't need much guidance to fully engage with it. God of War 2018 and so on are a different breed. The game has too many mechanics going on. A fully revamped combat system that has timed blocks and parries, combos, juggling, companion assistance, weapon switching, weapon skills, abilities and cooldowns, armor sets with perks and bonuses, and build crafting. I'm certain there is more I'm missing, but this pretty much lists it out. Compared to Resident Evil 4 Remake, it's an even bigger load on your cognition to keep all of this in mind and play the game. So imagine navigation being added on top of it all. Let's take another angle. Not only have games gotten more complex mechanical-wise, it has also reached new heights of fidelity. The starting area of Resident Evil 4 OG and the remake are not even recognizable due to the changes they made, but also the insane amount of details being added to deliver the right atmosphere. I still prefer the OG though. Regardless, the high fidelity makes it a bit more difficult to actually perceive what is interactable and what isn't. Old games used to have literal different shades of color and textures, which gamers would pick up on and immediately knew it could be interacted with. Yet modern games don't have this, and have pretty much gotten rid of those artifacts of old. Okay, So we have established the need for navigational tools, right? So why the yellow paint? Why do we need the murderer of immersion in our games? I mean, games already had solutions to pathway guidance. In games like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, if you didn't encounter someone to fight, you went the wrong way. In Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, doors that can be opened and interacted with had a big light bulb on top of the door. So why yellow paint? There are actually two facets to this. Level design as a role has been known not only amongst the players but also amongst devs. Yet it is surprisingly not as defined as most players think it is, nor simple. A study made showcased how complicated design can become in games, where they showed an intersection to players and told them to choose a path. Different conflicts were shown to them and players always made the choice to move towards the roomier path, the one that had more space. In the absence of which, they would lean towards their right. It is unironically the meme of choosing between a supposed bad and good, but only the different volume of the path was shown. Basically, the simplest choice of making one pathway larger was enough to guide players to that path. It illustrates how the simplest of details can change pathway navigation in players' mind. So when the environmental designs of games become more complex, navigational tricks like these become that much more difficult to properly implement. It also doesn't help that level design as a role isn't even that well defined. Max Herngren stated that level design as a role is difficult to put on paper since it consistently has to interact and deal with all aspects of game design to the point that every studio has a different definition. And he wasn't wrong. A whole observational study was conducted to figure this out, in which the researchers found that nearly every person working on the game had an influence on game design. Everyone below the producer was involved. Level design is so interconnected with the whole development of the game that studios don't even have dedicated roles for it. Specifically, Japanese studios. They all simply pitch in and add whatever each department wants and remove what they don't want. Dana Nightingale, a real-life Nightingale whose daytime job is at Arcane Studios Lyon, stated that not a single department in game development worked in isolation, especially level design. And the thieving Nightingale has a point. The same researchers found that level designers not only are influenced by the whole team, but that most of the decisions are not even in their hands. It got to a point that level designers basically gave up and would just follow what others wanted without having much of their own input in fear of rejection. Demotivated, depressed, yet also somehow the most central unit of the whole team. This makes it clear that there isn't a single master chef designing the levels we enjoy, but a Hell's Kitchen level of chaos that occurs in it, where somehow everyone is cooking the same thing and level designers become the idiot sandwich at the end of it. Yet it doesn't explain the immersion-breaking yellow color, now does it? The great work of Jeremy M. Wolfe on his studies regarding human visual search patterns and system basically concocted the visual search theory. It would go on to explain the most important parts on how we actually look for things in our vision. It wouldn't help in searching for happiness or true love, but it most certainly does help to explain in how you find that crusty sock of yours in a messy room when it's time to tenderize the meat. The visual search theory has extensive details on all sorts of guiding factors and effects, but we don't need all of them. Basically, visual search theory dictates that we are most attentive to color, motion, orientation, and size. These attributes are categorized under the bottom-up salience guidance. Attention is guided to items that differ from its surroundings, especially if the difference is large enough. Hence why Chad stands out in a room full of chuds. The color yellow does the same thing. If you saw a normal Chad in the environment, it could be reasoned away that it could be a normal thing. But a yellow Chad that's shinier and brighter than the sun is nigh undeniable. There's also a guidance by scene property, basically summed up as contextual-based search guidance. If you were to look for your cat in the room, you wouldn't look towards the ceiling, but probably at the floor or bed. This type of guidance is categorized into two reasonings: syntactic and semantic. Syntactic refers to physical constraints. You know the cat couldn't possibly be at the ceiling, so you don't look there. And semantic has to do with probability. You wouldn't infer the cat is clinging on the wall, not that it possibly couldn't, but it's less likely. An example is trying to find happiness in the Warhammer 40k universe. You could look at the Emperor's Legion, but that would be labeled as heresy since you have a high likelihood of becoming a mindless servitor. Thus, it would be syntactic and physically impossible. So you don't look there instead. If you look towards the Slaaneshi cult, you could find happiness if your definition of happiness is being ripped to shreds by crab-handed demonesses. That would be semantic. Not physically impossible, but highly unlikely.
Death through sensation!
Similarly, the humble, mighty yellow paint offers a nigh undeniable form of existence. If you want to know where to go next, you look for yellow paint. And you're easily able to find yellow paint since it's a high salience color in the surroundings of most games. It also truly helps those who are genuinely struggling with visual impairment, since a direct study of yellow paint found that those with visual impairments like myopia, short-sightedness, astigmatism, and color blindness were able to guide themselves better with a 65.91% improvement over no yellow paint. In summary, yellow paint, being the murderer of immersion, has some actual reasons behind its usage, despite the totally non-intentional systemic implementation of it. I mean, the whole industry just calls it yellow paint, even developers. No formal document calls it otherwise, not even a fancy name most people give like wayfinding markers, Navi boost, go to yellow, Hulk Hogan's image, etc. Just good old yellow paint that helps gamers navigate. It provides affordance feedback, removes cognitive load using visual search theory, and simplifies level design, a supposed role that no one person can handle at all. Despite the existence of other visual guidance methods, yellow paint is more likely to just be tweaked so it's not a yellow Chad in the middle of a Spanish village, but that it serves its intentions of being a guide for players. Thank you for watching till the end, dear patron. It was really enjoyable making this video, and I decided to make it different and shorter than the last one. Please leave any feedback you have on the video shown in the comment section, and leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for future uploads. Ciao.